It is Tuesday, September 26th. We are heading into college football week 5, coming off of college football week 4, one of the best regular season slates that I have seen in recent memory. Looking ahead into week 5 is quite disappointing considering that we just had the amazing slate that we just had, but we are here nonetheless. We have plenty of fun games to talk about. For those of you who do not know us, we are Statletics. We are just a couple of dudes who love football and found ourselves to be pretty good at making picks on games, specifically sports betting. But yeah, we're just here for a good time, talk through some of the big games of the week. And of course, we have our model projections now, so a little less casual than others. But, again, we're here to win some money. Seth, how we doing?
Good. Coming off a great week. Man, I was at the beach and I found myself sitting at the beach house all day Saturday watching football nonetheless. So I had a great trip, but with slates like that, you don't get those too often. So I had to sacrifice a day at the beach to enjoy myself.
Yeah, it's good football with a view, right?
It was perfect.
Yeah, we love it. So good week last week for both of us, man. It was fun. We had some good ones. We went 1-1 on the first couple beer bets of the year. So congrats on your Utah win.
Mm-hmm.
I snuck away with the Ohio State one. I was sweating it because they were about to rush the field there at the end. And for a second, I thought they weren't going to kick that extra point. And, Notre Dame was going to get that 2.5 point spread cover. But thank goodness for the review, and that gave me at least one beer bet win. So
we were texting each other during it. I was like, they better not kick that PAT. And he's like, dude, bro, they better kick that shit. And I was like,
I was tilting. I was tilting. It was like true roller coaster of emotions as they scored. I never thought I'd be happy about Ohio State scoring.
Yeah.
But I was ecstatic. And then I was like, oh my gosh, they may not kick the extra point here.
And then it felt like they were reviewing it for 10 minutes. So just the whole country was I have never seen an extra point be so important in my life.
Oh gosh. Hey, but they came through. Nonetheless, we are here, college football week 5. Not as fun of a slate, but we still have plenty of good games to walk through. Still some bets to be made. First one I want to talk about, SEC matchup. LSU goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a really disappointing loss last week in Tuscaloosa. Everybody thought Lane Kiffin was finally going to be able to get it done against Nick Saban, get his first, key win at Ole Miss. But I think he has another chance here to at least prove himself with a game like LSU. He gets them at home. Ole Miss is a 2.5 home underdog. The total is really high at 67 right now. LSU is 2-2 against the spread on the year. Ole Miss 3-1 against the spread. This game could be really, really fun. I don't know if I necessarily expect it to be as high scoring as Vegas is anticipating. I think it may be a little lower, but Seth, how do you feel about this game?
It's weird. It's when you have two teams kind of evenly matched up on paper. I hate when I see the road team be a favorite by this margin, like 2.5 on the road. It kind of puts me in a tough spot because I'm leaning LSU, but when I look at the spread with Ole Miss at home, coming off a frustrating loss to Alabama, in my mind, it makes me think that Ole Miss is going to come back home and they're going to play well and defend their home turf. But LSU coming off a rough game always makes me think that they're going to be fired up coming into this one. That game against Arkansas was back and forth. Every time you thought LSU was going to put that game away, Arkansas came back and scored and tied it. But right now, I'm probably leaning LSU minus 2.5. I think that Ole Miss offense, I know Bama's defense is still as good as ever, but that Ole Miss offense just kept stalling too much. And LSU's no Alabama, but I think that their defense can do enough to help them get out of Oxford with a win.
See, this one is pointing me in the direction of Ole Miss, and here's why. Both teams have a really good offense. There's no denying that. I think both of them are very, very respectable in their own right. But when we look at the defense, this is crazy to me because this is, one of the first times that I can remember, maybe the 2019 LSU being Tigers when it didn't really matter. but their defense is not that good, frankly, on all ends. Looking at overall success rate on the defensive side of the ball, LSU 85th in the country, Ole Miss 45th in the country. They are awful at stopping the run right now. Their secondary is extremely leaky, which is shocking. But Ole Miss actually has a better defense than LSU. And we know that Ole Miss always has an explosive offense under Lane Kiffin. So with that being said, my projections like LSU in a 4-point win this week. But goodness, looking at the matchup on paper, like Ole Miss has every chance to come in here and beat them outright. So with that being said, I think I'm riding Ole Miss.
Do it.
Look at the money. 80% of the total bets are on LSU. 66% of the money. The majority of the public is all on LSU. And I understand why, but I think I'm going to fade the public and go Ole Miss here. I think
that's fine. Public wins money too sometimes, That's fine.
This week was actually one of the best weeks for the public in terms of sports betting all year.
Nice.
And all compared to every other week this year. So just to note, the public won big this week. But yeah. All right, that should be a fun one.
Yeah.
Next big game, Utah. This is a Friday night game. Utah goes to Oregon State. Oregon State looks kind of nasty. This game is anticipated to be kind of nasty. We may not get Cam Rising back. I don't know. Jury's still out on that one. Oregon State is favored by 3.5 points right now. They're the home favorite. It is a 44.5 point total. So they're not really expecting many points in this game. Utah is 2-1-1 against the spread this year. Oregon State 2-2, right at 500 against the spread this year. My projections have Oregon State winning by 4. So kind of right on with Vegas projections. Vegas spread, so nothing to really take away from there. I don't think there's value when we look at the projections. This game's going to be ugly, but it is a top 15 matchup, and I don't even know what to make of this game because Utah. Do they get Cam Rising back? If they do, is he shaking off rust? I don't know, but Oregon State, there for a moment, I thought was one of the more underrated teams in the country, but then as of late, they've kind of let me down. So. In this game, if you had to take a pick right now, who would you take and why?
I'm taking Utah, and I'm taking them outright. I think they're going to win this game. So Nate Johnson, I think, has done fine at quarterback, filling in for Rising, but the Utah defense is what I think is one of the best in the country. Their defense has looked phenomenal. The issues they gave UCLA, I know we're only 4 games in, but this Utah defense looks really good. Ugalele, I'm still not a huge believer in. I think he has this offense trending in the right direction. That game against Washington State was a good one, but I don't know. I think Utah is more battle tested again. They played who do they get? Florida, Baylor, with Weber State, UCLA. I don't know. These Pac-12 games, it's weird because seeing the Pac-12 be this good at this point of the season is still weird to me. But I'm taking Utah outright in this one.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because you look at the matchup on paper. Their defense is playing at a high level. They have the second best success rate on the defensive side of the ball in the country. However, they are pretty bad at allowing explosive plays. For some reason, they just kind of have a leaky defense every now and then. 84th overall in stopping explosive plays. Not too good, but overall success rate really, really solid. Oregon State struggles on defense a little bit. They are pretty good at minimizing explosive plays. They're 50th overall in the country in explosive plays allowed. 46th overall in passing explosive plays allowed. But Oregon State's offense can keep them in this game. They are 12th overall in total offensive success rate and 1st overall in rushing success rate. So I expect them to come out swinging. There might be a little more points scored in this game than what Vegas has totaled right now. Not touching this total, I have zero confidence in it either which way. But if we look at that, if we look at those numbers and we look at the money, we may get an answer out of this. 55% of the bets are on Utah, but 91% of the money is on Oregon State.
Oh my!
Wow! When you see that, my initial reaction is, man, you know, 55%, you can't say with conviction that the public is heavy on Utah because it's barely over, 5% in which the public leans that way. But 91% of the money on Oregon State, do you think that is potentially sharp money that's lying with Oregon State, and why the number kind of pumped up from 2.5 to 3.5?
I think that's the only valid explanation for it. That is weird. You don't see handles like that too often. 55 and 91. Yeah, that makes me forget what I said about the public. Screw the public. I'm going with Utah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just leaving that there, I'm not officially laying a pick on this game. I am by no means a Pac-12 expert, but I got to inform the people and let them know where I would lay and lean if I were to buy into this game. But a game that I am buying into, Notre Dame goes to Duke. Duke is 5.5 point favorites. The total is 52.5 right now. Or excuse me, I said Duke is a 5.5 point favorite. Duke is a 5.5 point underdog at home. Notre Dame is 3-2 against the spread this year. Duke is 3-1 against the spread. This game should be fun. My projections have Notre Dame winning by 4. So flirting with the Vegas line, Duke thinks Duke can cover. But man, for those, I don't really publish my projections, but what I do is I tabulate all of the offensive and defensive rankings, and I heat map it. And so green is good and red is bad. And I see a lot of green on both of these offenses right now. And so if you are a guy who plays into totals, I would consider playing this one if you believe Duke can get past Notre Dame's defense. I know Notre Dame has a really strong defense, but hey, this game could be electric. Could be electric right now. So with that being said, this line started off at Duke 4.5 point favorites, but it's steamed up to Duke 5.5. I think people really still really like Notre Dame. But right now, as it stands, if you had to take it, who do you like in this game and why?
So that Notre Dame Ohio State game that we kind of touched on, that I think that game showed a lot of weaknesses and strengths for both Notre Dame and Ohio State. Notre Dame's got to work on offense. I know Ohio State has a good defense. But that was Hartman's it was his first game that was a struggle. And I think, due to scheduling and finally playing Ohio State, I think I like Notre Dame here. Duke, they've looked really strong in their first 4 games. That Clemson win was obviously huge, but other than that, they beat UConn, 42-7. I don't know. Notre Dame, I think I like Notre Dame just based off of the game they just played, going from playing Ohio State to Duke. And it's just weird. I can't get over seeing a number next to Duke's name when it comes to football. So, it's kind of hard to buy into the Duke football hype when it hasn't been there. So I think that's also part of the bias for me, but I don't know. I can't ride Duke yet. Not yet.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Believe it or not. So I rarely do this. And if, you're tuning in for the first time, I do not do this often. I normally trust my projections, but I'm fading my projections in this instance right now, and I'm riding with Notre Dame. I might actually wait and see if I can get Notre Dame 4.5 back again if possible. But I say that because some of the money is steaming back up in favor of Duke. Right now, as I was saying, 71% of the total bets are on Notre Dame, but 52% of the money is on Duke. So it's a little bit of switch-sided there. And the money is starting to pour on Duke's side. But if you like Notre Dame, you might be able to get Duke or Notre Dame at a steam down number. This offensive comparison is awesome. Duke 21st overall in overall success rate. Notre Dame 7th overall in total success rate. And that's even after playing Ohio State's stellar defense. Discussion for later, but they have arguably the best defense in the nation. But even on defense, Duke has a middle of the pack defense. When you look at it, they are really good at limiting the explosive plays, but Notre Dame isn't really known for having explosive plays. They are a grinder team. They will beat you on the ground, and then Sam Hartman will, slit your throat in the back end on the last few plays. They are 8th overall. Notre Dame is 8th overall in defensive overall success rate. So really solid defense. They're really good at stopping the pass. They do allow some explosive plays here and there, but they're also really good at stopping the run. And I think that's going to be the kryptonite for this Duke offense. Notre Dame is 25th best team in the nation when it comes to stopping the run. And I think that that's really going to be the bottleneck here for Duke. I think, the way that they run their offense and how they count on the mobility of their quarterback is really key for Notre Dame into limiting them from scoring points. So I think Notre Dame comes out firing. I think they're pissed off from last week, and I think they still believe in themselves to make a run for the championship in a year which parity in college football seems more evident than ever. So Notre Dame for me, I like it. Let's move back into the SEC, who is actually one of the weaker conferences this year, believe it or not. Florida goes to Kentucky. Kentucky, 2.5 point home favorite. This total is nasty. 44-point total. Goodness. Just outright ugly. Texas A&M. Gosh, guys, I'm sorry. Kentucky, in my projections, is looking to win by 6 points, even though they're favored 2.5 by Vegas. This matchup is ugly on paper. There's a lot of weird holes in both teams that they can exploit each other with. But we'll dive into that in a moment. If you had to take a pick on this game right now, who do you like and why?
I'm probably gonna have to go with Kentucky. Florida has not impressed me yet. They struggled against Utah. It was a gross game. They beat McNeese. They beat Tennessee. And then Charlotte. I watched some of I didn't, with the slate we had this past weekend, Florida-Charlotte was definitely not towards the top of my to-watch list, but Florida just didn't look good against a very bad Charlotte team. If it's going to be a spread this close, I'm going to go with Kentucky, who's at home at Kroger Field on 11 a.m. I'm going with Kentucky.
Yeah, I like it. And this is an instance where I am going to ride with the projections. I think Kentucky wins outright. This has become a fun rivalry over the past few years. We've seen these fan bases grow to kind of despise each other, which always makes for a fun, some fun side action amidst the game. We look at some of the offensive and defensive comparisons. Florida's offense is actually pretty good. They're 24th overall in the nation in overall success rate. They aren't really that explosive. One of the league worst in explosive plays, but they do pass the ball pretty well and very efficiently. They're 17th overall in the nation in terms of passing efficiency. They run the ball fine. They have two great running backs in Montrell Harris and ETN. So really fine offense. Definitely an offense that can get it done. Kentucky, on the other hand, very 87th overall in total offensive success rate. But they are second overall in rushing explosiveness. So this team is really good on the ground, and I think that they can control the clock at home. And I think that'll be kind of the key because Kentucky's defense, man, it's an underrated unit. They're 47th overall in defensive success rate, and they're really good at eliminating explosive plays. And just really solid all across the board. So I think that's why my projections actually have them winning by 6. I think it deems them home field advantage, and I think that bodes well for Kentucky as well. 56% of the total bets are on Kentucky. 87% of the money is on Kentucky. However, even though with that lopsided shift in the handle, Kentucky opened up as a 3-point favorite, 3.5 on some books, and now they are a 1-point favorite amidst all of the money being steamed on them. So just some food for thought for everybody. But man, I like
to see that.
I don't like to see it either, but I'm still going to ride with the projections. But gotta inform the people.
Gotta do it.
All right. Hey, I threw this one in there because we had to talk about it.
Okay.
USC goes to Colorado. Colorado's a 21.5 point home underdog. The total in this game is 73.5 points. A lot of points up there. USC is 2-2 against the spread this year. Colorado's 2-2 against the spread this year. We just saw Colorado get murdered by Oregon in an embarrassing fashion. That can be in its own discussion. I feel like it's been the hot topic of the week in the college football world, but we will leave the drama off of the show for now. My projections have USC 40, Colorado 28.
Okay.
So I think Colorado can score some points on this USC defense. Now, do you think Colorado can get it back going against USC? Or do you think USC covers easily and this isn't even a game?
I don't think Colorado can just get it going, but I do like them to keep it within 21.5 points, which is the spread, I believe. So I am actually going to make an official pick. I'm going to ride with Colorado here. I think Dion is put in a spot where he kind of got a little wake-up call. He's going to have his guys focused. I think it's time to stay a little out of social media, stay out of the spotlight, focus on football. And I don't doubt that Sanders can do a great job with doing that just as much as he's done with firing his team up through the antics, through all the stuff. I like Colorado here. I think that they can get back on track. And I still think that, 3-1, if you asked them, or if you told them they were going to be 3-1 before the season started, they would have took that in a heartbeat. I think you stay focused. Yeah, you got embarrassed against Oregon, but you got another shot here at home to play USC and at least make it respectable and, kind of get back on track.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I actually like Colorado this week too. I think they can keep the game within 3 possessions. I think they're going to be fired up. And, I think last week was a wake-up call. We were on Oregon last week. If you watch the show, you were riding Oregon plus 20 with us. But I actually have confidence in Colorado to kind of rally.
Yeah, I do.
And it's no secret that USC's defense is piss poor. It's not like they're anything great. It's still the same USC defense of old. If we look at it, they are 130th in 131 teams overall in allowing explosive plays. 122nd overall in passing explosiveness, 127th overall in rushing explosiveness plays allowed. 63rd best team in defending the run.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's not good for USC. Colorado, on the flip side, has the same issue. They're 125th overall in defensive success rate. They are 105th overall in limiting the run, 128th in passing success rate allowed. So you can see why the point total is where it's at right now. But, both offenses are elite. USC's offense is definitely more it paces Colorado's by a good margin, but Colorado's is still good. They're still a top, third team in FBS when it comes to offensive production, offensive efficiency. They don't run the ball that well, but man, they can let it fly. Their passing numbers are awesome. 27th overall in terms of passing success rate in the league. So I have confidence in Colorado. When you look at some of the numbers, 44% of the total bets are on Colorado. 16% of the money is on Colorado. So subsequently, that means 84% of the total handle is on USC. So I think that I like Colorado to bounce back here. And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, you just saw what Oregon did. I don't think, truthfully, I don't think people realize how good of a defense Oregon has, and it just wasn't a good matchup for Colorado. So
it is. It's just going to be a bunch of recency bias. That's all it
is. Exactly. Recency bias is hell of a drug, and I'm looking to capitalize on it this week with Colorado plus 21.5. If I could get it at 23, I may have.
Ooh.
But if you can wait for it to steam back down and allow people to pump up the USC line again, do it. By all means, do it. Next game, Kansas goes to Texas. Texas 17-point home favorites, 64-point total. Kansas is 2-2 against the spread. Texas is 2-2 against the spread. This game's going to be fun. It's a 3-possession total, but I'm still uber excited about this because Kansas is like an anomaly in the Big 12. I feel like they're like more than capable of beating anybody, but they're also more than capable of losing to anybody. So
absolutely,
my projections like Kansas to cover. It has 35-23.
Okay,
Texas, but Kansas covering.
Okay,
so with that being said, in this game, do you think Texas keeps it rolling? Or do you think Kansas surprise the world?
No, Kansas won't surprise the world, but I do think they will keep it within 16 and a half or 17. So the thing is, we Texas got that huge win over Alabama, but the problem is we've seen that this Alabama is not the Alabama of usual. The defense is there, the offense isn't. Kansas is not something crazy special. They've played Missouri State, Illinois, Nevada, BYU. That BYU win was pretty impressive. I'll give them props for that. BYU's not an amazing team, but Kansas kind of handled that game like they should have. They played well. They took care of business. It wasn't really a close game.
For sure.
But I don't see Texas as 16.5 points better than Kansas, even though it is at Texas. I'm going to roll with Kansas here. I think the Jayhawks keep it within 17.
Nice. So I'm going to read you something.
Okay.
If I can find it again. Kansas. 55% of the total bets are on Kansas. 93% of the handle is on Kansas.
Okay.
Hey, I mean,
Public can win.
Public can win. I just said at the beginning of the show, Public, this was one of the best weeks in the entire year for the Public when it comes to betting and winnings. So, these don't mean as much as they used to, but I'm just saying 93% of the handle is on Kansas. However, I will say that this number, at the moment of this show, it's a 17-point underdog for Kansas. If it drops under, I would, wait it out. I think 17 is a good number because that puts it at a 3-possession cover. Whereas, you get into 16, that's a 2-possession cover. And I think this number might be steamed down. So if you can get it early at 17 and a half, do it. But flirting with disaster when it comes to 16. So I think Kansas for sure can do it there. Offense is sneaky underrated. One of the 4th best teams in terms of overall offense efficiency in the nation. 3rd best team in passing success rate. And 18th best team in rushing success rate. Subsequently, Texas is fine. Their success rate has not been great. Their offensive production has been good, but their efficiency and their success rate has not been. So they've really kind of relied on the running game, which is 34th overall in terms of rushing explosiveness, 41st overall in overall success rate. So I think that Texas is going to have to rely on the run this game, meaning that this is going to take away some big play opportunity for Texas. But, Texas has a great defense. I think that's going to be the real challenge for Kansas. But yeah, Kansas 17 and a half, if I can get that 17, I'm happy. But if I'm under that number, I'm probably shying away.
Yeah, also it is Tuesday, so when we're recording this, by the time it gets to Thursday, Friday, when you're checking out the sports books, some of these numbers could look completely different.
True that. Yeah, you got to do some preliminary research on your own, right, to make sure you're getting what works best. Get some good closing line value. That's what we're trying to do. Georgia goes to Auburn. This game, wow. Auburn 14 and a half. Home underdog. I would have expected 21, 24, give or take. But 14 and a half point underdog at home for Auburn, 47 overall point total between this game. Man, this game is, I'm kind of shocked at the point spread. That was my initial reaction is what's going on here? What does Vegas know that I don't know? But I mean, I think this kind of bakes in with the way that Georgia's performed over the past couple of weeks, especially against South Carolina just some 2 weeks ago. We look at the money right now. I mean, people are loving it. 72% of the public is on Georgia. 71% of the handle is on Georgia. So people are definitely, taking advantage of that surprising spread. However, I don't think you want to be too hasty in that. What do you think in this game? Do you think Auburn can do it? Can they cover?
I don't know. I had a problem with watching them against the Aggies. They did not look good. They did not look good. I'll tell you that. And losing by 17 to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M doesn't look too great themselves. I don't know. The 14 and a half is like my least favorite spread ever, first of all. And second of all, Georgia on the road. And it's like when that number is a lot lower than you think it is, I don't know. I can't give an official pick here because I don't have a read on this game. I'm genuinely like, I'm kind of confused on the spread. Like you said, I thought it'd be closer to 21, maybe even 24, 23 and a half. I don't know. The only thing that makes me think I would want Auburn here is just because of the weird looking spread.
So just doing some wrangling here, it looks like there are a few holes that may have Vegas leaning this way. One of them being both teams are surprisingly good at stopping the pass. Auburn is right now 8th overall in passing success rate allowed. Georgia's 17th overall in passing success rate allowed. Don't get it twisted. Auburn sucks on the run against the run.
Right.
You know, they're 112th overall in rushing explosive plays allowed, 70th overall against rushing success rate allowed. But Georgia, believe it or not, they aren't as good stopping the run as one may perceive. 30th overall in rushing success rate allowed, 58th overall in rushing explosiveness allowed. So with that being said, what does Auburn do well on offense? Not pass. I'll just lay it to you there. They suck at passing. You saw that against the Aggies, but they do run with really, really solid efficiency. 10th overall in the nation in rushing success rate for Auburn. I think that's what Vegas is leaning into. I think both teams really lean heavy into the running game, and I think both teams find success with the running game. Therefore, we have a low point total. We have a controlled clock game in its entirety, and I think that this game is really just ugly and slow paced, kind of a slog. So I can't lean one way or another with any sort of conviction, but I would not be surprised if Auburn covered 14.5, even though it feels like Georgia won by 4 touchdowns. So,
right.
I think this game is going to be completely on the ground. I think there's going to be no passing game whatsoever by either team in this game. My projections have Georgia barely covering the spread, but I think when it opened, it was 14 on the nose. Right now it says 39 to 23, but it's not taking into account a few different things. So, yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised on the side if Auburn covered 14.5. Again, I hate that spread, but I think it bodes well for Auburn. And I think kind of the game layout bodes well for Auburn to be able to cover, considering that this game is going to be a slow-paced slog. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. All right, man. Hey, that wraps it up for the big game breakdowns that I want to do. You got any extra picks you want to add?
Actually, I did. I found one more. Let me find it real quick. It is in the American Conference, the best conference in football. It is. I am going with South Florida +4 against Navy.
Okay.
I will give you a brief explanation. Is Navy runs a triple option, as everyone knows, one of the most beautiful ways to watch football. And South Florida's run defense has been phenomenal this year. They just played Rice. Rice did a lot of their damage through the air. Their quarterback racked up 432 yards, but their star running back, Rice's star running back, only had 12 yards. I do think that Navy's going to have major issues pushing the ball down the field against South Florida, and I think South Florida has a better offense. They can actually throw the ball through the air. They played well against Alabama. I think Alabama just didn't play well, and they don't have a quarterback situation, but South Florida is battle-tested. After you play Alabama, who are you going to be scared to play? I don't think they're scared of the midshipmen, and I think they're going to go in there, and I think they're going to win pretty easily. So I am laying South Florida -4.
Nice.
I'm South Florida +4, sorry.
Love it. Yeah, I had one that I wanted to lay out there. This may be a little too obvious that it's kind of concerning, but I do really like Arkansas this week. Hold on, let me find out my notes. I just accidentally closed out of everything, and I did not mean to. But you can find them +7 on most books right now at home. So I really, really like this because of my projections. My projections actually have this Arkansas loses by 1. But I think there's some good value there. I think that based on their play last week against LSU, I think there's a lot to be excited about. And I think Texas A&M kind of got away with one in their performance against Auburn. I think the scoreboard did not emulate their performance that well. So it's a good value pick I'm going to add to my card. We will also be dropping more picks if you follow the Twitter account, and you can also see all of those projections there as well. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We will be back here next week. Talk to you guys later.